Around 20,000 people lost their lives in car accidents in the EU last year. To help improve road safety, the bloc is reviewing legislation on driving licenses. But some of the changes are controversial, namely the lowering off of the minimum driving age. Eu-decoded takes you through the revision just agreed by the European Parliament and Council.
Under the new rules, 17-year-olds will be allowed behind a car wheel when accompanied by a more experienced driver. They may also be licensed to drive lorries under certain conditions. You need to be 21 to do that now. New drivers will face a 2-year probationary period with stricter rules and penalties for driving while intoxicated. Driving tests will check awareness of risks to pedestrians, cyclists and scooters.
The directive also aims for EU countries to harmonize medical screening for those taking tests for the first time or renewing their licenses. Let's see how all these changes are perceived by Europeans.
Sim, concordo. Acho que pode ser um bocado parecido com os Estados Unidos, em que eles têm licenças para poderem praticar em casa com alguém responsável, que tenha carta.
Portanto, por essa razão, em geral, acho que sim, devem ser sujeitos a um período probatório.
Porque há muita gente aí que também deveria voltar a fazer, não é? Novo exame. E se calhar mesmo assim não passavam, cada vez há mais regras e as pessoas mais antigas muitas vezes também já não sabem essas regras.
Ο δίπλα δεν μπορεί να κάνει τίποτα. Αν πέσει ο άλλος πάνω σε ένα μπεζό ή σε ένα αμάξι, άρα δεν μπορεί να κάνει τίποτα ο διπλάνος.
Πιστεύω ότι 18 χρονών είναι ακόμα πολύ μικρή ηλικία για να ξεκινήσει ο κόσμος να οδηγά. Ακόμα δεν ορίμασε ο κόσμος για να μπορεί να οδηγά στους δρόμους μπροστά από παιδιά, πεζούς. Εννοείται πρέπει να είναι πιο αυστηρός, διότι εντάξει, στη νεαρή ηλικία μπορεί να πεις ποτό να μην το υπολογίσεις, μπορεί να μην υπολογίσεις τον κίνδυνο που μπορεί να προκύψει.
Euronews reporter Gerardo Fortuna will help us navigate through these rule changes. Statistics say that 2 out of 5 fatal car accidents involve people under 30 years old. What could change with these new rules for young drivers?
Yeah, it's a striking statistics indeed. And one key change is this a 2-year probation period for new drivers in which stricter penalties will apply for not using seatbelts or drink driving. But also another interesting aspect is the so-called accompanied driver, so 17 years old can start practicing already under the supervision of a more experienced driver. These are rules that are already existing in certain countries, but this is going to become common standards at European level. This is what we call harmonization.
The directive also aims to harmonize the medical screening process for people both obtaining license for the first time or renewing it. What will change?
Some countries will keep doing mandatory health checks. Others could require to fill these self-assessment, let's say. It's still a bit controversial, but there's not going to be like an EU-wide rule, but there's the encouragement in the directive to have some consistency when it comes to the health assessments.
And finally, the Parliament and the Council also agreed to review the law on driving disqualifications. What will be the changes?
It's an important update because until now, if you commit a major offense, let's say you caught drink driving on holiday in another EU countries, your license could be suspended in that particular country where you committed the offense and not elsewhere. So these new rules will fix this loophole. There are going to be 3 serious offenses, they're called serious, and are being caught drink driving, injuring someone else while driving, and excessive speed limits, driving above 50 km per hour than the limit.
The review also aims to expand the use of the digital driver's license. They already exist in Denmark, Spain and Germany, but a uniform model should be available across the EU by 2028. However, drivers will continue to be entitled to a physical driving license. They can use it, for example, in countries outside the EU that don't use digital systems.
Let's go deeper into our decoding with German Green MEP Jutta Paulus that led negotiations here at the European Parliament. How do you react to the statement by the European Transport Safety Council that allowing 17-year-old people to drive, including lorries, would worsen road safety and that this should be optional for member states?
Well, of course, it is always a risk if you expand the possibility to drive heavier vehicles. This is clear. But I think there are sufficient safeguards. The accompanying person has to have a good education for that. And also member states will, of course, have a look at how do accidents develop, how do incidents develop, and will it actually help to tackle the driver shortage.
And how confident are you that the member states will have enough means of enforcement to implement the 2-year probation period so that they monitor it close when young people might, having reckless conduct in terms of drunk driving and other behaviors?
Well, in Germany we already have this probationary period for quite a long time. And of course, enforcement is always an issue on any regulation, but we have witnessed a very strong, let's say, responsibility also by those young people because they know if they get caught driving with alcohol or drugs or whatever, their driving license will be withdrawn and it was extremely expensive. So they have, let's say, a very good motivation to behave.
What will be done to address the potential risks linked to the digital driving license? As some experts said that it might increase risks of cyber attacks, insecurities in terms of protection of the driver's data.
This is a test case also for the EU digital wallet, because this is something which we have already in other legislation, but right now we don't have anything that can go in that wallet. And around this digital wallet, we have a lot of provisions concerning cybersecurity, concerning forgery, concerning fraud, concerning theft of digital data. If people use this EU digital wallet, I don't see a lot of problems actually.
Road safety is a shared responsibility between the European institutions and member states, although Brussels is playing a greater role now. The EU has set the so-called Vision Zero target to reduce fatalities by 50% by 2030 and have zero road deaths by 2050.